Welcome back here with us on Overdrive. Now with the Hunter, Royal Enfield plans to diversify in the 350cc motorcycle space, and with the Ronin, TVS plans to stake claim in Royal Enfield's retro style motorcycles. Now who did what better? It's time to find out.
Now out here in India, when it comes to single cylinder 350cc retro themed classic motorcycles, nobody does it quite like Royal Enfield. You have the Meteor 350, the Classic 350, and you also have this, the Hunter 350, which has expanded its portfolio to a different, broader fan base. But now TVS has entered the portfolio with the Ronin. Now this is a 225cc single cylinder motorcycle which is aiming for some of Royal Enfield's market share in this capacity of motorcycle. Now how different is it from the Enfield? Does it have any strong points? Does it justify its cause for being here? We are here to find out, so let's get right to it. Now with the Hunter, you know exactly what you're looking at and you have this idea of what to expect from this handsome looking motorcycle. But with the Ronin, well, it's really confusing because it's got this stressed out front end that gives it a cruiser look up front. Then there's the fancy LED headlight and the golden upside down fork that throws hints of a sports motorcycle in there. And then there's the engine guards and side panels that give the bike a certain amount of ruggedness. So the TVS definitely loses ground when it comes to form, but the Ronin certainly makes up for it in terms of function. With the Ronin, you get dual channel ABS with two settings, urban and rail. While with the Hunter, well, you don't get any settings for ABS out there. And the ABS units on both machines cannot be switched off completely. The TVS display is an all-digital unit and not part analog like that on the Enfield. And the Ronin screen also reads out average speed per trip, so you can calculate your fuel efficiency on the go. And although the fonts are a bit tiny, they are fairly easy to read on the go. The Enfield, on the other hand, gives you a readout of kilometers covered once you get into reserve fuel, which is awesome. But there's nothing really much besides that. Now both these motorcycles are designed primarily for city usage, and still their mannerisms are very different from each other out on the road. Much of that has to do with their engines, as these bikes have been designed and built around them. So this J series engine of the Hunter, well, it's a single cylinder air-cooled 349cc which makes around 20 PS of power and 27 Nm of max torque. Well, 80-90 kmph out on the highway, a real sweet spot with this motorcycle. And the best part is, with the way this bike is set up, in terms of the 5-speed gearbox and the long stroke engine, well, getting ahead of traffic at highway speeds at around 80, well, you don't really have to downshift. You can just whack the throttle open and you will be ahead of traffic in no time at all. And that's the real beauty of this bike, unlike with the Ronin, where you will have to downshift to get past traffic in a jiffy. So the single cylinder 225.9cc air and oil cooled unit that powers the Ronin, very different in comparison to the Hunter. Why? Because this is a square engine, which means its bore and stroke is identical. That should imply that it revs a lot better than the unit on the Hunter. Now this engine produces around the same amount of power, that's a little over 20 PS of max power and around 20 Nm of max torque. Now out in the city, you don't really have to downshift at lower speeds because this engine is very tractable, very refined as well. And out on the highway, this engine can manage 80-90 kmph at ease without a fuss. But the best part about this bike and the way this gearbox is set up, well, it just loves to be revved and it feels like it accelerates a lot quicker than the Hunter. Getting astride the Hunter 350, as you can see, swinging a leg over the seat height of 790 mm, fairly easy. And in terms of riding position, well, yes, this one in comparison to the Ronin is slightly more aggressively poised. This one has its foot pegs slightly rear set, flat handlebar, nice and within reach, but it will have you put some weight on your palms. The Hunter will have you in a slightly sportier stance when compared to the other two 350cc cruiser style bikes in the RE shed. So taking on corners on this one definitely feels a lot better. But in long runs, out on the highway, especially with a pillion aboard, things can get uncomfortable on account of the small narrow seat. Alright, so now getting astride the Ronin,
Yes, fairly easy, just like the Enfield. And riding position, yes. Now this is a more relaxed riding position. The handlebar is more upright. The foot pegs, well, little more forward set, and a very more relaxed riding position overall compared to the Enfield. Now the seat, as a whole, yes, this one feels a little more well padded and a little broader. Well, it should give you a little more comfort on the go in the long run as well.
Once I got to ride the Ronin, I instantly felt a lot more relaxed. And it's not just because of the riding position. It's the way this bike behaves and responds to undulations on the road, especially that rear monoshock. Man, that's a far cry from the stiff dual springs on the Enfield. Otherwise, the TVS feels very nimble in and around the city, just like the Enfield. But with the Ronin, the clutch is super light and the levers are also span adjustable, which is a plus point.
Now the logical choice between the pair has to be the Ronin because, well, honestly, it's the easier motorcycle to ride. It has the most amount of features. It's supremely comfortable in comparison to the Enfield. But then again, the Enfield, yes, in case you wanted that little more of a dynamic ride, not so laid back, not so easy going, a little more involving overall, well, this one would be the motorcycle for you to choose from the pair.
With that, it's time for us to wrap up this week's edition of Overdrive. But remember, you can stay in touch with the team through Facebook, Twitter, as well as YouTube. And you can follow our latest updates on Instagram. We'll see you next week. Until then, goodbye. Many thanks for watching.